Hi, Peg Leg Page here, the One Foot Gamer. Today we're going to talk about bringing those RPG characters back from the dead. And specifically, I'm going to discuss both the Raise Dead spell and the Reincarnation spell. Specifically, for some reason, Raise Dead is a higher level spell than Reincarnation. I believe it's 5th level in about every version of D&D that I can recall, while Reincarnation is 4th level. And I kind of understand the game mechanic reason why, but really, Reincarnation is from a magical's perspective, it is a more powerful effect. The Raise Dead spell just takes the dead creature and brings it back to life. The Reincarnation spell, it creates a body out of nothing, and in a lot of ways it's even mechanically superior as well, because a reincarnated creature now has a new young adult body, so they've both been raised from the dead and they've been brought back to the prime of their youth. Seems to be quite an advantage, doesn't it? And while you do got to roll on a table, so you're going to come back, you're not going to look the same anymore, you're going to have a different body. If you have a game master who wants to mess with you, you might have a different gender. You might, and if you're in a really munchkin-y version of D&D like 3.5 where your stat adjustments matter a whole lot, you might no longer have the best possible stats for your class, but so what? It's still not going to be that bad. Like, your barbarian might your half-orc barbarian might come back as a halfling and end up 4 strength points down. But you know what? It's still doable. You still got yourself a decent character, and you're young again, and you can just die and get reincarnated again too. Fact is, if you've got somebody around who can cast that spell, they can cast it again. So, when I was writing Red Box Fantasy, I felt like there had to be some sort of real cost to reincarnation, even if it is just a role-playing cost. So I decided to re-envision it slightly. I believe I took a little inspiration from the Grimjack comic book. I think it was from the Grimjack comic book, but I'm just going to read my description from the Red Box Fantasy Player's Portfolio of Reincarnation. Reincarnation, arcane in nature, level 4, range touch, target dead creature touch, duration permanent. This spell raises a willing soul from the dead and gives it a new body. At least some of the original body must be present to cast the spell, and the creature cannot have been dead more than 1 week. When raised from the dead, the creature loses 1 hit die from energy drain. Other than that, he arrives in perfect health, albeit in a new body that may be different from his former one. Now, to break in here, Red Box Fantasy energy drain, it drains hit dice, not levels, and every time you gain a level, you will also regain 1 hit die of energy drain. So it gets you for a while, but it does come back, and it doesn't affect your level, only amount of hit dice you have. Also, because Red Box Fantasy characters don't necessarily have the same number of hit dice as they do levels, much like a high-level AD&D character might not have the same amount of hit dice as levels either. Back to the description. The raised creature can remember his former life, but will also have a complete set of childhood memories from their current form. He retains all skills and continues to advance in his class, provided the character returns as something vaguely humanoid. Yeah, there's a table, you've got a small chance of, coming back as a bear or something, but, the other players can just kill you and then cast it again. Not that huge of a deal. Unfortunately, the reincarnated character rarely comes back as the original race. Roll on the appropriate table for the reincarnation spell that's cast. There's a nature table, and there is a arcane table, because it's a spell of both types. The nature table is the one that can get you more with the more of the bad results. It's got the bunyip will attack on sight. It's got the brown bear, the eagle, the mountain lion, and the wolf. The arcane table is all humanoids. The reason why the arcane table is all humanoids is because Your characters can cast nature spells generally, they're druids for the most part, or druid-like characters, and they generally have access to every nature spell of a level. So there's no cost to them personally having picked the reincarnation spell. However, usually an arcane caster knows a limited number of spells, so that caster had to personally, sacrifice a spell known in order to know this spell. A character gains the form, languages, and natural abilities of a different race from the monster listing, but otherwise maintains their own class. The game master may have to modify the character's archetype somewhat to fit their new form. Overtly powerful characters may have to be retired completely. It's possible to come back. With the right role, you can come back as an ogre mage, or a troll. Those would not have much effect if it was a high-level campaign. Although if you're a third-level character, you get brought back as an ogre mage, you're going to be, you're going to be unbalanced for the campaign, and your character needs to be retired. The reincarnated character arrives at the scene of the casting within 1d6 minutes after the spell is cast. The character will awaken to the memories of their former life and begin traveling towards the place the spell was cast, even before the spell was cast. And under no circumstances will the reincarnated character arrive before the original character dies. A wish effect can change a reincarnated character back to their original form. So that's the description, minus the tables and a few little star explanation things. So basically what happens, Bob the fighter, he dies in the fight against the dragon, but the other players, they eventually defeat the dragon. The mage, he casts the reincarnate spell. Do I have any dice on this table? I don't have any dice on this table. So we're going to go to a D20 roller website. I'm sure there is one. Well, I go ahead. Oh, Google just does it now. It rolled a 16. So Bob, he's going to come back as a kobold. But here's what's going to happen. Somewhere, he might be some distance from kobolds. Somewhere 200 miles away, there's a kobold who wakes up one morning after having gone to bed of a, hard day of dink, dink, whatever it is kobolds do. And then he wakes up the next morning and says, "Holy crap, I'm Bob the Fighter. I've always been Bob the Fighter. I mean, I'm still Dink Dink too. I mean, that's my mom and my cousin Jink Jink over there. But no, I'm Bob the Fighter. This kobold thing is, I don't know. It's a dream. I've got to go find my friends." And Dink Dink, or Bob now, he's gonna start making his way to where the spell was cast. Meanwhile, Bob the human Bob the Fighter has not fought the dragon yet. Human Bob the Fighter is only going to fight that dragon. The human Bob the Fighter will eventually fight that dragon and die. Dink Dink will be traveling there the entire time. And the wizard will cast that spell. And Dink Dink will appear at the die roller 3 minutes after the spell was cast, having spent a week traveling there. And Bob is now a kobold. But he remembers his whole human life, and he remembers his kobold life too. And actually having to role play that, I think, is an excellent cost to the reincarnation spell. So I run it that way in every game. Now, I'll use the tables for whatever game it is that I'm playing. I'm not going to use my Redbox Fantasy tables if I'm playing 3rd edition D&D, or if I'm playing 1st edition AD&D, I'm going to use those tables. But I always use it as, no, the spell did not create a new body. The spell stuck that soul into a body that already had one, but the spell made that soul take priority. So, what do you think of that idea? Is that interesting, or is that just stupid? Or do you think characters get raised too much as it is? I don't think characters get raised a lot in 5th edition D&D, because I think from what I understand, it's nearly impossible to die under those rules. I don't know, I haven't played it, but I heard there's things like death saves, and you have to get to negative of your normal full hit points to die, except that nobody ever takes that much damage because they can heal to full after every encounter. And oh my goodness, but isn't that way as much back in the old versions of the game? Or if you've got some more money, access to a higher level character, you can just raise dead and come back as exactly the same. Alright, that's all I got for this video. If you know anybody who's interested in fantasy role-playing games, why don't you tell them about this channel? I am hoping to make this channel as popular as my eBay-based channel, which is One Foot Flipper. Link to that down in the description. Thanks, and I hope to see you again soon.